Yes, it
I know
has.
the last time that we talked on this great podcast was when we broke down the Karl-Anthony Towns trade. So
Yeah.
the 2024-2025 NBA season has begun. We're a week already into the season. Lots already been happening. And I gotta say, Nick, I'm very interested to see, for the West.
Yeah.
We already know the East. But for the West, what's going to happen this year?
Yeah.
So, Nick, what are we going to talk about today?
Yeah, so we're going to talk about, the first topic is surprises so far. Maybe it could be a team or maybe certain players that we didn't think would have like really, really strong starts to the season, but they actually are. And we're also going to talk about the best free agency moves so far. We're going to talk about a couple guys. And then we're also going to have our top 10 teams for predictions for the top 10 seeds for the Western Conference and the top 10 seeds for the Eastern Conference. So I'm very excited for this. Just like you said, it's been a while. We're already a week into the season, which is like crazy, you know. So it's I can't wait to dive deep into this basketball season moving forward, man.
Yeah, no, man. Definitely excited. We've definitely been trying to. I know I keep saying definitely, but we have really tried to make it work. Find a time to sit down, be able to talk hoops, chop it up for about an hour, maybe a little bit less. And if you have not, please subscribe to the podcast. Please like our page on YouTube and Twitter. It helps us a lot. Being able to see your guys' support also helps have our video pop up more, especially if you're subscribed or if somebody's looking for interested in a podcast. And Nick, going off the biggest surprises so far, and to correct myself, 2 weeks into the season, but the first week was really like started out.
It was like a half.
Yeah. So I think one of the biggest surprises so far for me, Nick, has been the Lakers and JJ Redick bringing them to 4-2.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna let you. I'm gonna not let you, but I'm gonna ask you this question.
Yep.
Do you think that out of every year LeBron has been on the Lakers, that this is the best coach in terms of scheme and being able to actually create plays for this team?
Wow, that's okay. If you look at it, how many coaches have they had on the Lakers?
So they've had Luke Walton, they had Darvin Ham, and then before that, I don't know why his name is escaped, Frank Vogel. Those are the three coaches before JJ Redick comes in.
When it comes to scheme, wow, that's a good question. It's kind of hard not to pick just Frank Vogel just because they actually won a championship. And like obviously Frank Vogel has been around the league for a long time. He's had some success in multiple different franchises, and he's been good with working with, you know, stars and things like that. But I mean, I would say so. With JJ Redick, I think he's very, very knowledgeable in it, and we've seen it so far. I mean, with these Lakers teams, especially the last few years, they're not doing what we've been thinking that they should be doing, and JJ Redick's finally implementing that to this team. Like, for example, dude, just let Anthony Davis cook in one-on-ones if they're not going to double. And obviously now JJ Redick is always a very analytical kind of guy. He studies the analytics of the game. So this team is actually jacking up more threes than ever before. He's letting Austin Reeves jack up a bunch of threes and things like that. And the team has really, really worked well. And I think LeBron kind of likes, especially, I mean, he's 40 years old pretty much. So he kind of likes that he doesn't have to be the number one option.
I think this is the first time we've seen in his career where he hasn't been the number one option.
Yeah.
Something that I think that JJ has emphasized is more of a balanced offense centered around AD, making him more of a playmaker like a Nikola Jokic, a Joel Embiid, even a Bam Adebayo on the Miami Heat. I think another thing too is that making him more of the playmaker and playing through AD has not only helped him upping his scoring. He's actually leading the league right now in scoring. The last I checked, he was at 32.8 points per game this year.
He's going off.
And he also is a really good passer. Like, people don't realize that because I think that he has been relegated to either being a guy that's doing pick and roll with LeBron 30 times a game or being the guy that's crashing the paint all the time. And I think that this is the first time where we've seen AD more in that spotlight of where he was supposed to be the face of the league. he's showing right now how good he can be.
Mm-hmm.
He just hasn't played for the right coach.
Yeah.
I think that JJ is finally using
Mm-hmm.
80's versatility, and he's encouraging him to shoot the three.
Yeah.
That's something
He has struggled in the last couple of years with the three ball for sure.
Like the only year that I could think of that he shot it okay was the first year he went on to the Lakers, and then obviously in the bubble, I feel like everybody in the bubble shot way better than before. Another thing that I do appreciate about what JJ has done is adapting him into being in his comfortable position at the power forward when he plays Jackson Hayes with him. I think that allowing him to play more of a defensive role in those situations is giving them more of an opportunity to create block shots. AD has been, I would say, one of the best defensive centers in the last couple of years. I think that he's been snubbed by a guy named Rudy Gobert, which we've talked many times on this podcast about. Yeah. And I think you already summed this up. Encouraging others to shoot the shot, but also giving LeBron more of a break. I think that we've seen LeBron be the point guard, be the floor general, be the scorer, be everything, even the shot blocker. I think that even though this team really didn't change in terms of roster, and I'll say outside of the game that they lost on Monday to Detroit, I would say that they've looked pretty strong so far. Yeah. And this is a roster that I don't think is good enough to make the finals by any means, but I think JJ will make the most out of what he has.
I completely agree with that.
So,
I really do.
What has been a surprise though to you, Nick, so far?
I'm actually bringing up the other LA team.
Clippers.
So I'm actually bringing up the Clippers, and it's not necessarily because that they're playing well or anything. I just went into the season thinking this team's a 12-13 seed at best. Obviously, Kawhi's out indefinitely. You see Paul George isn't there anymore. You see that they have no choice but to let James Harden do what he was doing in Houston, have the ball in his hands a lot with the dribble. And obviously, they just saw that it can somewhat work having a guy like that, because look at what Dallas just did with Luka. I mean, they made it to the finals playing like a guy playing that sort of style. You know, I feel like. So, I would say too, like they got James Harden running the show right now. Zubac, and they just got a bunch of role players that have actually been playing really, really solid. They beat some good teams. They beat the Nuggets. They beat the one-loss Warriors team, and they lost the 2 close games back-to-back to the Phoenix Suns. So they're hanging around with pretty good competition out west so far. And I gotta say this, man, like Norman Powell has been balling. Norman Powell is cooking, bro. I mean, he's averaging just under 25 a game, 50% from the field, 45% from three. James Harden's numbers look pretty well. I mean, he's averaging just over 21 a game right now, just under 10 assists, almost 9 rebounds a game. He's kind of putting up some like Russell Westbrook type numbers, man. But I would say his stats look good, but his field goal percentages are down. Obviously, no more Paul George. Obviously, no Kawhi. Like James Harden's going to chuck up a lot of shots. So he's actually shooting only 38% from the field and not even 30% from three. And Zubac has been a monster. He's averaging 17 and 13 this year. So, like, the Clippers are playing hard. Tyronn Lue's still people forget how good of a coach he still is. And the Clippers have been surprising me just because they've actually been kind of exciting to watch, and they've actually been pretty good defensively so far, which is very interesting to see from the Clippers team.
I will say this, Ty Lue is a pretty solid defensive schemed coach, so I'm not surprised about that. I will say with James Harden being your best player on the floor right now, I think that is kind of a surprise. Yeah. Something that I want to add to before I get to the next team is I think that one of the things with the Clippers this offseason was they couldn't really attract anybody to come to LA, considering that they locked up Kawhi, they gave all that money to James Harden, 2 years, $70 million. Yeah. And you kind of brought in guys that are on their last leg in the NBA. I mean, Chris Dunn has been a journeyman now ever since getting traded. That's true. You look at, there's a couple other players that they brought in. I mean, Derek Jones, I think, was probably their best free agent signing in terms of where he was last year on the Dallas Mavericks team that made the finals, was a key pivotal piece, good wing player for them. And yeah, Norman Powell, man, he's going to cook, and I think that he's been one of the most consistent 2 guard, 3 three whenever he plays the three.
Yeah.
In the league, I think that you're going to expect him to give you 20 to 25 a night, especially when he has the ability to take more shots.
Yeah.
One of the things that I'm very curious to see is what do the Clippers look like in 2 to 3 years? Because they got no draft capital, man.
No.
They still, to this day, have just decided to mortgage their future for a guy who's not even on the team anymore. They traded more away to get James Harden because they thought that that was going to help them solve their issues. And seeing right now what the product of this team has become is not that shocking to me.
Yeah.
I also feel like there's kind of a lot of like guys that we haven't really seen play a lot. And this is like our first kind of glimpse at what this team is going to look like post Kawhi.
Yeah.
And it doesn't look good. So I will say right now, if the Clippers don't make the playoffs and they're a 9 through 15, bro, they might get the first pick and have to give that to the Thunder. The Thunder own their pick.
That's interesting.
So if you think about it, you might just have gifted them not just SGA, you gifted them Jalen Williams, you might have just gifted them Cooper Flagg if you're not good this year.
Oh my goodness.
I'm just saying, man, that's crazy. Another crazy one too, Nick,
Cooper special, man.
is the Bucks.
Yeah.
1-6. It's been a challenge, man. I think one of the parts of this team that just makes you scratch your head is last year they were 33-10.
Mm-hmm.
And they fired Adrian Griffin.
Yep. Because Giannis didn't like him.
They had the best offensive rating. Found this out from a buddy yesterday. Shout out Omar. Thank you. That last year, before Adrian Griffin was fired, they had the best offensive rating in the whole NBA.
Mm-hmm.
They had figured out the offense. The defense wasn't that good. And once they got rid of him, because, like you said, Giannis didn't like him, and I'm pretty sure that some of it was because he made a comment about his brother or something. Like I don't know if that was.
Yeah, I also remember too, like him and Adrian Griffin. Remember they had that little incident during a game. I forgot what game it was, but there was a little incident there, and I think that's what drove Giannis to go to the front office and say, "Hey, I want to change."
And I just think that the fact that they pivoted from Adrian Griffin to Doc Rivers, who Doc Rivers notoriously has never been good in the playoffs outside of the 2008 NBA Finals, has always found his way to make his teams go to the playoffs. You know,
win around.
Solid. Yeah, win around. Maybe stick around in the second round until Game 7, then lose like usual. It's just crazy, man.
Yeah.
Let's think about this for a second. You got Damian Lillard, who Giannis said, like they need to make another move because they're not good enough. They trade Drew Holiday. Mm-hmm. Drew Holiday went to the Celtics. Obviously, that doesn't look good now.
Yeah.
Dame Lillard, I'll give him this. When healthy, is still a top 20 player in the NBA. I wouldn't say top 10, but top 20, and he gives you a lot of offense.
I agree. Completely agree. That's why Milwaukee made that move last year, because they saw that, hey, we were top 5 in defense, but hey, we were only 15th in offense. So they decided to make the move to like, hey, we're gonna go get Dame time, and it completely backfired on them. I know injuries did happen for them in the playoffs last year. Obviously, that's why they lost to Indiana in the first round. I mean, Giannis wasn't there. Dame got hurt during the postseason. So, like, if you really think about it, like, that's why they're kind of running this team back. It's like, hey, we were injured. If we were healthy, we believe that we can make it happen. And obviously, they got Gary Trent Jr. as well. They got another shooter in there. They still got Bobby Portis. They still got Brook Lopez. They still got Pat Connaughton. Like, they still got a lot of their key guys. And it just doesn't make sense to me why they're so bad.
Well, I think
Doc Rivers is a coach.
I was going to say, though, too, let's think about this. Mm-hmm. The lack of better additions is a very telltale sign. Mm-hmm. I mean, just 2 years ago, they traded for Jay Crowder for 6 second-round picks. I'm sure that they regret that.
Yeah.
Not having a lot of young assets. They mortgaged all of that when they traded for Drew Holiday, then mortgaged the rest of it when they traded for Dame. Mm-hmm. Your supporting cast is DeLon Wright, Gary Trent Jr., and Taurean Prince, alongside Malik Beasley. And then you got really Pat Connaughton, who was a pivotal player in your rotation during the 21 finals run. Mm-hmm. And it just kind of seems like now it's like he's like on the back burner on the bench over here. and they just haven't really improved outside of the guys that they trust the most. Chris Middleton has just not been able to be healthy, which has been a huge issue for him. Obviously being in a slightly reduced role because Damian Lillard stepped in. I just wouldn't believe that this team is 1-6 when Giannis is averaging 31 and 12 right now.
Dame's playing pretty well.
Dame is also averaging 26.
Yeah.
And it just seems to me that Brook Lopez, who's been great on defense, even this year, he's still been a good defender. He just has no ability to shoot anymore, man. Like his offense has dropped off a cliff. This year. I mean, he is older. His shooting percentage is at the lowest since he came to Milwaukee this year, which tells me that they don't have another big as well, because Bobby Portis is the only one that's bringing energy off that bench. He's your only other guy that you can consistently rely on this team. And I also think too, Nick, the lack of size outside of those two players right now is what really hurts them. Because I'm not going to count Giannis. We know who Giannis is. Giannis is your starting four. Bobby Portis has kind of been like that backup four, but really the backup five as well. Depending on when they want to play Brook off and then put Bobby in, or basically have Giannis out, put Bobby in, and then go small. It just, to me, with Doc Rivers, man, it just seems like it's the same old story about he just doesn't have good answers. Didn't he say earlier that he's like, we'll make the playoffs, I'm not worried about it?
Yeah, especially going 1-6, it's like, well, you should be worried about your job. Just like you brought up, you know. And there was one thing that you brought up when they made the trade for Dame last year. And I remember what you said. You questioned the age of this team. The age really caught up to this team.
They're old.
They're old.
Like I said, you know, I think the average age of their players has, I don't have the number in front of me, but it's got to be one of the oldest teams.
They got to be top 5 in that category for sure.
Because DeLon Wright is not young.
No.
Malik Beasley is a veteran. Taurean Prince is in his 30s. Gary Trent Jr. is probably the youngest guy that I could think of that they added. And Gary Trent's not that young anymore.
No, he's been around. Yeah, for sure.
So you have an aging star in Dame. Giannis is 29. Chris Middleton's in his early to mid 30s now. Brook Lopez is getting towards his 40s. Bobby Portis is in his 30s. I just think, to me, the age, like I said last year, was a concern. I think it's going to be more of a concern this year because this is, you know what's reminding me of, Nick? That 2021 Lakers team. Age. The names look great because of who they were.
That's true. That's so true. Yeah, that's a good point.
But that's not who they are now.
I completely agree.
And you have two top players, but
no, just like how the Lakers had obviously AD and Bron. No, I completely agree with you. Also, the Sixers have been very, very depressing team to watch. I mean, obviously Joel Embiid hasn't played, and obviously he got suspended now because of what he did. Paul George just made his first appearance this year last night. I'm assuming he's gonna play again tonight. I'm not really sure, but it's just crazy because it's just like Tyrese Maxey, Kelly Oubre's been pretty solid for them and stuff, but man, I didn't think it would be this bad so far for the Sixers for sure right now. And then obviously the Cavaliers are undefeated. 2 teams left in the NBA are undefeated. Oklahoma's kind of expected, just because they're the 1 seed in the Western Conference and they're going to be a really, really good regular season team, and they added more depth to this team. The Cavaliers is shocking because they really didn't make like major moves. They pretty much kept this team intact. And they're off to a really, really, really damn good start right now.
Yeah, and they've also had close nail-biter games. The one against the Bucks, where Milwaukee was leading in that game, and then came back and won that off of Donovan Mitchell fadeaway. So they're looking good, man. One more thing I just want to add before we get to the next topic is, I know last episode, if you guys haven't watched it, please check it out, was that we talked about, you know, Julius Randle going to the Timberwolves, and I think that he's adjusted pretty well. Going for 24, 9, and 5 so far. Complements the existing talent already on the team. And I think that something that I forgot about Julius Randle is that, you know, we know he's a physical inside presence, but he actually is a really good facilitator and knows how to pass the ball. And he plays more dynamic around Anthony Edwards, I think, and Cat did. And that's something that is really helping the Timberwolves. I know that their record doesn't indicate that, but I think that he's actually doing well. He's shooting efficiently, 47 from the field, and he is actually shooting above 30% from three.
Yeah.
And I think that we'll see, I don't know, man. I know I said I didn't love the trade. For both teams, I didn't love the trade.
Yeah.
But it might be a win-win situation. We'll see how the season goes. I think Julius Randle is showing that he is still a valuable player in this league, so we'll see what happens. But, Nick, to get to our next topic, we wanted to cover some of the free agent moves that we've already known about, how they're making an impact so far.
Yep.
I have 3 guys that I want to bring up. I know that you got 2 guys.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure that we are probably have the same guys because there wasn't crazy signings.
No, it's true. No, for sure. Obviously, Paul George would have been one, but he just started playing yesterday, so obviously we can't really put him in there. But, I mean, the Klay Thompson signing for the Dallas Mavericks looks pretty good so far. You knew that his numbers would go down a little bit because he's a third option on his team, and you got 2 guys that are pretty ball dominant, and then Luka. His usage rate is so high. He's like top 3 in that category pretty much every year since he's pretty much entered the league. But he's just under 15 points per game right now. 44% for the field is solid. It's not great, but it's not bad either. He's shooting 38, just under 39% for 3, and then he's making over 3 threes a game right now. And you look at the shots that he's getting. I've never seen Klay Thompson so wide open. He's even having time to put the dribble a couple times to get into a more comfortable spot for him, and it's just like, this is the perfect fit for this organization for Klay Thompson. Why do you think he took less money to play in Dallas instead of going to the Lakers? He saw the fit. He saw this team in the finals, how bad they shot from 3. They go, hey, they're right there.
Yeah. And
they made the finals not even being a good 3-point shooting team really so much. Luka's up and down. Kyrie can knock down threes, but he's not jacking up 8, 9 threes a game. You know what I mean? Like, they didn't really have that many 3-point shooters in, like...
Maxi Kleber was not the guy for them that he has usually been in the playoffs
that's true.
As a consistent 3-point shooter.
Yeah, and Tim Hardaway Jr. he's kind of like a streaky kind of guy. Like, he's either on or really off. So, like, Klay is the best third option they could have possibly gotten on this team.
Most consistent knockdown 3-point shooter.
You could run so many plays for him off the ball. He doesn't need to bring the ball up. When he's wide open, he's going to knock down threes. He brings that veteran presence. Obviously, he can't defend like he used to. He's had a lot of major injuries, but I think he just brings that championship pedigree that this team really, really needs.
I do agree with you on the point of not just the pedigree to win a championship, but him being wide open.
Yeah, wide open.
They mentioned at the first game that he played in that Klay has never been or never seen himself being that wide open.
Yeah.
Being able to take as much time as he needs to adjust and shoot the ball.
Yeah.
And shooting 60% from 3 in your first game, I think, is a very telltale sign of that you're going to be good. And this is shooting at least 10 threes.
Yeah.
In the first 3 games, he shot 60%, 41, and 36 from 3.
Yeah.
That is really good.
Really good.
That means, and that's with shooting over 10 threes. The other thing, too, is like you talked about, as a third option, I think that he helps them in the ability to hit threes, but also to give that third scoring option, which I think that was a huge issue that the Mavs had when it came to the finals.
Consistent with that spot for sure. Like even the
Minnesota
second
series.
Scorer. Yeah.
The Minnesota series, yes. I think that there was ups and downs, but I think that they still had more consistent scoring. When they played the Celtics, that was when they needed a guy that could hit a 3 to stop a run, and they did not have that.
No.
And that's the thing too, is that because Boston knew that they were going to only use either one of Luka or Kyrie, they were going to double one of those guys to take away that ability, because they knew they could leave the guy outside wide open, because Derek Jones and PJ Washington will hit in a 3 here and there, but they're not knockdown shooters like that, and they didn't have anybody else that could really do that, like you said.
Yeah.
So when you bring in a guy like Klay, now you have to respect that shot out there, because otherwise he's going to go off and he's going to give you 30, 35 points because you're not respecting his shot. So
I completely agree, man. It's looked really good in Dallas right now.
I'll let you go to the second guy.
Sure.
Give it to me.
Yeah, it's another guard that went from another Western Conference team to another West, right? West to the West. He's on the Warriors. Buddy Hield. Did he go from West? Was he
East? He was in the East last year. Started with the
he was in the
Pacers.
West. Yeah.
Got traded.
East, I'm sorry.
So
Yeah.
you are right. Drafted by the Pelicans.
Yeah.
Traded to the Kings. Stayed on the Kings until he got traded in
He's
the
been bouncing
Halliburton.
around.
Yeah, Halliburton, the Sabonis trade he was a part of, which is where he landed to Indy for a couple of years.
Yeah.
Then got traded to the Sixers before the deadline last year.
Yeah, I talk about a college hooper. He was nasty in
Oklahoma.
Nasty.
They said that he was going to be one of the best scorers in the league.
And I'll say this though. I mean, like, yeah, his career is not what I think the hype was, just because of how phenomenal he was in college.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's been playing very, very well for the Golden State Warriors so far.
Yeah.
He currently, by average, leads the team in scoring, which is surprising because he's just under 22 points per game. He's shooting over 51% from the field. He's shooting a phenomenal clip from three, 50% from three, and guess what? He's making 4.7 threes per game. I don't know how many threes he made against Boston. This is not counting the game. I don't know if they won or lost that game, but Buddy Hield is like, he's playing like the prime Clay, if that makes sense, especially from an offensive standpoint, I think that's why I feel like this was the best situation for Clay to get out of that organization, to go to a team like Dallas, and they brought in a guy that has the potential to play like a prime Clay if he was in the right situation. I think so far the Warriors have been the absolute perfect situation for Buddy Hield.
100%. And actually, I was going to add something to that too, man. So you were talking about how it looked like prime Clay. So I looked it up. So he's averaging about 5 threes a game. I know you said like 4.7. Like 4.7. And that's also because when I wrote this down, this was on Monday before they played the Pelicans.
Yeah.
No, sorry, not the Pelicans. Washington on Monday. And he's leading the league in 3 points made a game. And I know that offense, obviously, efficiency, shooting threes has become more, even before, like even back when the Warriors were that dynasty team. Teams weren't scoring as much as they are now. Like where the Warriors' offense wasn't paced, now would be like considered average.
Yeah.
So back in when Clay was in his prime, he averaged about 3.5 threes made per game. So the fact that Buddy Hield is making 5 a game right now is very. It matches that efficiency, but also that need for a second splash brother that Clay was not providing Steph last year, and I would even say the year before. I feel like Clay had that year. He came back. They win the finals. He looks good. I think that after that was just kind of like Clay just never could really be that player he once was again.
Yeah.
And here's another thing too, Nick. The Warriors are 6-1 when Buddy scores at least 20 points. I think probably 7-1 now because they won again today.
They beat the Celtics.
Okay. They beat them.
This team's
I can
on.
give you that final score right now, 118 to 112.
Dang.
And in that game, Buddy Hield had 16. So actually 6-1 when he scores 20. And that's something that I think we don't talk about with Buddy Hield is that the ability to score the ball. I think because, like you said, how of a phenomenal scorer he was in college.
Yeah.
Something that he hasn't been able to really articulate into the NBA and being that scorer. But averaging 22, 4, and 2.5 off 51% from the field, which includes 51% from 3.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. The Warriors, I don't like them, man.
Yeah.
You know me. I don't like them.
Yeah.
But
No,
I have to give him props. That was probably one of the best. I think actually right now, because we haven't seen Paul George play really, he's only played 1 game so far.
Yeah.
This is the best free agent signing we've seen.
Oh, I completely agree. And I think, too, if you really think about Buddy Hield's career, he's bounced around a lot, just like you mentioned. He hasn't really been on a team that he has a lot of opportunity to score the basketball. Really,
This is the first time, yeah.
This is the first time, and like they need Buddy Hield to keep playing like this in order for this team to have somewhat of a chance to advance at least one round in the playoffs. Because if Buddy Hield does not give this production consistently, this is when I question the Warriors offensively. Okay, like Steph's getting up there in age, and you've seen he's already been hurt. He's already missed a couple games. Like I think Steph, I'm I'm not saying like he's declining. I don't think he's declining, but I think he's regressing just a tick. You know, so I don't think you could just have Steph and he could just carry you to the finals anymore. Well, that's like, what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying?
It's like LeBron. Like when you see him now, he cannot carry you anymore like that. It's just you're old.
No, I agree, and like, and the Warriors, like besides like Steph and Buddy Hield, like I still question where they're gonna get this 3-point shooting from. Kyle Anderson, I was actually watching the game a little bit today. They left him wide open. He went back to back threes, and Boston had to call a timeout. So Kyle Anderson, he's not a good 3-point shooter at all. No. He was 3 of 16 going into this game against Boston. And if he can knock down some threes, because teams are going to leave him wide open.
Yeah.
And obviously, and if Kuminga can knock down some threes and Mooney can knock down some threes, they're going to leave Draymond open too if he takes them. So like, I just still question where the perimeter shooting is going to be coming from this team. But so far, they're off to a great start.
Yeah, I think that being 7-1 so far, I know we shouldn't always read into a quick start like that because the Cavs years ago after the LeBron trade, or not trade, but when LeBron left the second time, I think Cleveland 1 year was like 7-1, and then they ended up regressing right back down to the bottom of the East.
Yeah.
So it's not out of the realm of possibility that the Warriors couldn't fall down. But I don't know, Nick. I just think that because Steph is still a really good player, talented, and the fact that they still have stayed around in relevancy over the last couple of years, even after winning that last championship, which I still think is like that anomaly one between the 4 that they've won. But the 3 before that, I feel like this one was the one where it's just like this was the unexpected one.
Yeah.
And just because of the matchup of what it was, I think if it was another team of the East, like the Milwaukee Bucks, I don't think they're winning that 4th ring. But, you can't live off ifs, so we can't say that.
Yeah. I also question their size, too, the Warriors.
I think that that's going to be something, though, that we'll talk about in the next topic that
you're
going to be really shocked about for me. But to give one more shout-out to a player that's been pretty well, gotta go with the local guy here from Chicago. We got Jalen Smith. Not saying that Jalen Smith's from Chicago. I'm just saying that
he's on the Bulls.
Talking on the Bulls.
Yeah.
I think that averaging like 13 minutes a game and then putting up 10, 5, and off 53% from the field is very productive in the minutes he's getting.
Yeah.
I know that they're still gonna play Vooch 35 minutes a game.
Yeah.
So Jalen Smith's coming in. He looks really good. I think he's one of the only guys that the Bulls are getting off the bench that gives any type of production at all.
Yeah.
Dude, why in the world do we let THT play games?
Oh my God! Don't even get me going, man. It's like you draft a guy.
You draft Matis and then
you don't play him. They're giving him the Dalen Terry treatment. When we drafted Dalen Terry with the 16th overall pick, I forgot what year. I think this is his 3rd year in the league right now.
This would be his 3rd year.
They didn't play him. He was bouncing around. As a matter of fact, he was in the G League as a 1st-round pick. And you don't really see that so much.
And Matis got sent down to the G League too.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense to me.
No, it doesn't make sense.
But I do like what Jalen Smith gives to the Bulls. I do hope that when we eventually tank, I do think that at some point we are going to trade Levine and Vooch. I don't know when that's going to happen. It gives the Bulls the ability to run a smaller athletic team, especially right now when Vooch is off the floor.
Yeah.
We'll see. He's had sparks and spurts where he looks like a really good shot blocker.
Yeah.
Something that we badly need. I know Vooch had 60 blocks last year. To say like Vooch never gets a block, he does, but just doesn't have that inside presence that we need. So curious to see how he does for the rest of this year.
I agree.
But to get to the last point, man, I'm sorry. I feel like my brain is cooked today, so I'm just trying to I just cannot articulate words right now.
Yeah.
This is literally what's going on. So our last topic of this episode was to talk about predictions.
Yeah.
And Nick, I know that you said that you base these predictions more off of what you thought at the beginning of the year. What I did was that I'm going off of what I've seen so far.
Okay.
So I'll let you go first with that.
Yeah.
I think you're going to be really surprised with some of the ones that I put for here.
All right.
I think you're going to be actually really shocked for one of those just because of that, but I'll let you go first.
So what conference do you want to start off with?
We'll start with the West.
Okay. So I have, do I go from 10 to 1 or 1 to 10? How do you want me to do this?
Let's go from 1 and then we'll go down to 10.
1 to 10? All right. So the number 1, I have my second favorite team, Oklahoma City Thunder.
Yeah.
My squad, SGA, everyone knows how much I love SGA. So I got always a shout out to SGA. So I got Oklahoma number 1. I got the Dallas Mavericks number 2. I got the Nuggets number 3. Well, I might. If I was able to change it, I might change some of these.
What would you change if you could right now? Because I will tell you right now, I don't have Denver very high.
Yeah, I would because obviously now with Aaron Gordon's injury and they're very, very thin on their bench. Obviously they lost KCP. Like Christian Braun has really stepped up a little bit for sure, but I would probably have them like 5th, 6th, just barely making it, just because Nikola Jokic is so good. I think they could still avoid the play-in situation, but I would drop them for sure. But unfortunately, this is what I had before the season started. Number 4, I had the Phoenix Suns. 5, I had Minnesota Timberwolves. 6, I had Sacramento Kings. 7, I had the Golden State Warriors. 8, the Lakers. 9, Memphis Grizzlies.
Okay.
And 10, I had the Houston Rockets.
Okay. I respect that. I'm actually shocked that you put the Warriors above the Lakers,
Yes.
but I also have the Warriors above the Lakers. So I don't know, man. I will tell you right now, this is a very bold one, but I think I'm gonna give you my reason why I think this. So I have the Thunder one. There's no world where I'm not gonna put them in there.
Yeah.
Considering that they're the undefeated team of the West right now. They were the 1 seed last year. They look good again this year. Chet Holmgren has been really good.
Really good.
They're missing Hardenstein.
Yeah.
Caruso isn't playing as many minutes. He's playing 19 minutes a game. He was Chicago's best wing defender last year. So when he was in Chicago, he was averaging about almost 29 minutes a game.
Yeah.
And he was usually a starter. Chet Holmgren, I think, has really shown how good he is as a player so far this year. So I'll have to give that to him. My second seed right now, dude, just because of what I've seen. Again, I'll tell you this right now. I'm doing this based off of them being 7-1. But I actually have the Warriors.
Okay.
But the reason why is because if Steph is not playing and they're still winning games the way they've been playing with all their shooting so far, I can't see a world where that doesn't happen, just because the Warriors are like one of those teams that they're going to have that anomaly year where they're a top seed. I will say this, I think I'm also going to put them 2 because I do think they're going to move Kuminga for a disgruntled star. Now, whether that's Jimmy Butler, Giannis Antetokounmpo, or somebody else, because, dude, if the Bucks don't turn it around, Giannis is going to start asking for a trade.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to lie, you keep Buddy Hield, you have Steph, and you can keep some pieces, because I think...
Kuminga definitely got to go.
So you would be trading Kuminga, Andrew Wiggins, probably Moses Moody, and some draft capital.
Yeah.
But you get Giannis.
Oh, my God.
I just can't see in a world where that doesn't help them.
Yeah, that pick and roll with Steph and Giannis, that's... I wouldn't even know how to guard that as a coach. Like, how do you...
And if they can...
That's insane.
If they can get a guy like Jimmy Butler, I know that one's a little bit of a weirder fit, but if they can get somebody like Jimmy Butler, he's a great...
Yeah, do you know what I can see? Pelicans are struggling. Watch out for a potential Brandon Ingram trade to Golden State. I think that's another one.
That would be an interesting one. So that's why I'm going to have them there. Okay. Realistically, I think that they'll probably hover more around 5 or 6. I think that would probably be more of a realistic. But I'm doing this just based off what I've seen so far.
Yeah.
You know, I have the Mavs at 3.
Okay.
I have the Suns at 4. I think that with Budenholzer as their coach, they actually kind of feel like a better team.
Yeah.
I think Frank Vogel, hey man, he won a championship and all that stuff. I just don't think that he works in today's NBA the way that he did maybe 5 years ago. I think that he's just kind of fallen off the cliff there.
Yeah, you know what I like about Phoenix real quick? They finally have a point guard.
Tyus, yeah. That was really
Tyus has worked really, really well with this team so far. So I really like the balance of this Phoenix Suns team. I don't think they really have much weaknesses, to be honest with you. And a lot of people are calling them the dark horse to come out of the West. That's an interesting take by a lot of those people, especially in the NBA media. But I like the Suns, man. They're good.
Yeah, no, I think that they could be really good. I do have the Wolves at 5. I think that even though they've had a rocky start, I just think that Anthony Edwards is one of the most talented players in the league.
Yeah.
Definitely going to be emerging as a top 5 guy. I do have the Grizzlies at 6.
Okay.
I think that if they can stay healthy this year, they're going to be in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I might be wrong about Zach Edey.
Yeah.
I don't know how well he's going to be, but he's had some flashes.
He looks solid so far. Yeah, I had Memphis a little bit down because Desmond Bane, Jaren Jackson Jr., like these guys, like their top guys have had histories of getting injured. And so I pretty much based it on, okay, some guys are going to get hurt at some point during the season. They're going to take a little bit of a hit. But the Grizzlies, if they can stay healthy, I would not be shocked that they're top 6 team in the West.
Yeah.
For sure.
I have the Nuggets at 7. I'm going to tell you this right now.
Yeah.
I respect Nikola Jokic. I think that he is one of the top 3 players in the league. They don't have any shooting outside of Michael Porter Jr. Consistent shooting.
That's true.
Anybody can hit a 3 occasionally. Can you knock down 4 or 5 in a game? Because if you're going to tell me anybody outside of Michael Porter Jr. that's not named Nikola Jokic, right now, with the way that they've looked, I get that they look lackadaisical on defense. Russell Westbrook is an interesting fit. I didn't love the signing for them. It feels like
he's had some couple good games so far for them.
He's been okay. Like he had the one game where he was perfect from 3, had 22 points, big win for them. Especially after like the rumor of like, oh, they're gonna cut him. Come on, guys. Like, I get that we want to make fun of Russell Westbrook because of what's happened to him in his career, but he ain't getting cut, man.
No.
If Cameron Payne has a job in the NBA, I think that Russell Westbrook can have a job in the NBA.
I agree.
Let's pump the brakes right there, bro. I just don't see this team being that good. Like, if I took them against the Lakers right now, dude, I can't guarantee that they're winning that series because of how bad they've looked in terms of their shooting.
Yeah.
But then again, maybe Jamal Murray will go off again. Who knows?
Yeah.
Jamal's hurt. I know Aaron Gordon's hurt right now. So I think that that's also what kind of factors into this.
No, for sure. I agree.
I will put the Lakers at 8. I think that JJ is going to do a good job with them this year. I do think that, again, their roster is limited. I think their starting 5 is good. I think everything outside of that is a question mark. So that's where I'm going to put them. I'll have the Kings at 9, even though DeMar was a good addition for them. I think the Kings, again, struggle defensively. They're really good offensive team. Fourth quarter is going to be interesting for them all the time.
Yeah.
I just think there's so many good teams in the West that I can't necessarily put them above the rest of them. And then I'm going to have the Pelicans at 10.
Okay.
I do have the Spurs as my 11th.
Wow, that's it, yeah.
So I put them there because I really think that they could be a sneaky team. I know that we talked about, I know you put the Rockets at 10.
Yeah. I like the Rockets.
I like them. I just you know what happened last year where they kind of just slowed down at the end? And I know that they had some injuries. I feel like that's going to be the same thing.
Yeah, that could happen for sure. I think they actually beat the Spurs tonight. They were blowing them out. I think they finished. I think they're actually like 5-3 now. I just like all the young talent. I think Jalen Green is really ascending. Fred VanVleet's actually taking a back seat. He's only averaging like 13 points a game. And Sagoon is really good. I just like the balance of this team. Ime Udoka is always going to have this team playing hard. It was a disappointing end of the season for them last year, obviously, because they went on a same win streak to be neck and neck with the Warriors for the last spot in the West for a little bit, then they fell apart. I just trust in Udoka to just get them in there.
No, I think that it's a fair argument to put that they could make the play in. I don't know about the playoffs.
No, I don't see that.
They could be a play-in team.
Yeah.
I think that that's very possible. I think that one of these Western Conference teams that we usually expect to make the playoffs is going to get some injuries, and that's probably why they're going to miss out. What do you have for the East? Yeah, so obviously the West, we had this 9 out of the 10 teams that were the same, different order. You had the Pelicans. I had the Rockets in. It's interesting. So in the Eastern Conference, I had Boston Celtics 1. Yep.
I had New York Knicks number 2.
Yep.
I had the Cleveland Cavaliers 3rd. I had the Indiana Pacers 4th. I had Milwaukee 5th. Miami 6th. Orlando 7th. Philadelphia 8th.
Okay.
Atlanta 9. And I like the young core of the Brooklyn Nets. I got Brooklyn Nets at 10. I just feel like everyone's like, whoa. You got Philadelphia at 8th before the season started? Yeah. As soon as they announced that Joel Embiid ain't playing back-to-back games all year, he hasn't even touched the floor yet. He's already dealing with issues with the media, whatever. Paul George just gets hurt a lot. I don't trust it. A lot of our guys are really, really old. I like Tyrese Maxey, obviously. Oubre's pretty solid. They got Eric Gordon. Like, they got a lot of veteran guys. This is just... I don't know, man. I just feel like Philly is only preparing for the playoffs and not necessarily the regular season. So that's why I have the Sixers going down, because here's the thing, if they're a top 3 seed, guess what? That's because Embiid played so many games, and he's going to be injured again during the playoffs, and they dealt with this for the last 3-4 years straight. They have a good seed, and then Embiid's just not 100% healthy. They wanted him to take a dive a little bit, so they want him 100% healthy, so I think that's why they're going to slip down in the standings. And the Eastern Conference is pretty solid, man. And people are like, whoa, you have Orlando 7th? I just think they were getting a little bit too hyped. That's just my personal opinion. I think they're a really solid team, really, really good young team. But I just like the top 4 with Boston, the Knicks, the Cavs, Indiana. Milwaukee 5th. That looks really, really bad on my part right now. Yeah, so that is my 10 in the Eastern Conference.
I like your top 3.
Yeah.
I think the one that you said, the Cavs, I don't know, man. I feel like the Cavs are just like that. They're that good team, an Atlanta Hawks team. Mm-hmm. They have more talent than that Hawks team, or that Denver year where Denver was really good, but they had a bunch of role players.
Yeah.
That's what this Cavs team always feels like to me.
Mm-hmm.
The Celtics won. I think that there's nothing that we need to talk about there. Defending champs, they're missing KP, and they still look basically unbeatable. I know they lost tonight. And then unless a major injury happens to one of Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown, I think they're making it back to the finals. I don't think that there's anything that I need to argue there. The Knicks, give it time still. I think that Cat's finally starting to adjust. All their wins have been when Cat averages over 20.
Yeah, he had like 35 and 16. I don't know if they won. They were in a neck-and-neck game with Atlanta, actually.
So I know at least before we recorded, I was writing this down. All 3 of their wins so far had been when a Cat has averaged over 20 points. Mikal Bridges, I don't like the shooting form that he has decided to go with now, trying to get back to his college form, which I think was kind of odd why he decided.
Like shooting like Michael Kidd-Gilchrist all of a sudden, bro. I'm sorry, that looks bad, bro.
Yeah, it's not good.
Why are you changing your shot when he shot 37% from 3 last year? Why would you change somebody's shot?
I hear you. I think that I expect the Knicks to go on a winning streak through the midway point of this season.
Yeah.
They're just gonna play an 8-man lineup. Let's not lie here, guys.
Sure. And shout the trim the McBride off the bench.
Yeah,
ball.
Yeah, no, he is a solid backup to Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson has woken up and he's starting to play like the Jalen Brunson we know he's been since he's come to New York. I know you have the Sixers down low. I actually still have them at 3.
Okay.
I just think that we haven't seen this team even fully healthy yet, and it's kind of hard to judge a team when Tyrese Maxey is trying to be your one with, like you said, aging guys. I think that I think that Caleb Martin was actually a solid pickup for them in the offseason.
Yeah.
Eric Gordon, I know he's old. They have Andre Drummond, so I think it's kind of like you're having Andre Drummond try to be the starter right now when Joel Embiid's out, and I think Drummond plays really well as a backup.
Yeah.
I think when Embiid comes back, they'll start to pick it up. And Nick Nurse is a good defensive-minded coach. I can't imagine that they're going to have the issue to win games. I think that Embiid's going to start his season next Tuesday. That is when he's going to come back. I know he has a suspension because of him shoving the reporter. And I just think that Paul George needs a little bit of time to acclimate. Acclimate.
That's why I had the Sixers so down, in my opinion.
I feel like
the Cavs are intact. They're used to playing with each other. Indiana, they got Siakam during the midseason, so I feel like they're intact. Milwaukee's pretty much intact, even though they're really, really bad right now. Miami's been intact for years. Orlando didn't really change much. They got KCP, so that's why I had Philadelphia.
No, I hear you.
Down.
I hear you.
Yeah.
No, I hear you, and that's like I respect you putting them at 8.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just thinking that they'll probably somehow still finish. The reason why is because the Cavs, yes, they're undefeated right now, but are we really expecting Darius Garland to stay healthy? Are we expecting Evan Mobley and Jared Allen to be healthy the full year? Because I don't think they're going to be.
No, I don't.
I think that the Cavs are going to slip,
and
then eventually not be as consistent as they've been so far this year. I do have Orlando at 5. I think that they're a young team, but I do also have to put the caveat, I probably should move them down because they are going to miss Paolo Banchero for about 6 weeks. So I'll put the Pacers at 5. I'm going to move the Magic down 2, put the Pacers at 5, and then I'll have Miami at 6 because I think Miami's still, as long as they don't move Jimmy, and if their young guys can continue to develop, I think Jaime Jaquez in his second year, the rookie this year that they have, and just Eric Spoelstra is always able to find random pieces that work in his lineups, in his system.
Yeah.
So I think there's that, and then Magic at 7. I think the injuries do play a factor. I would have them at 5 if they're fully healthy, just because they are a good young team. They're not going to win by any means all the way to the conference finals. Maybe they can win a series. I think they're capable of it.
Yeah.
I just think that they're still a team that needs another piece to really complement Paulo and Franz Wagner.
Yeah.
I think once they get that then we can take that step. I'm really surprised how inefficient KCP has been, but I think they're also just not playing him the amount I was expecting him to.
Yeah.
So that's the one thing with that. I have the Bucks at 8, man. I just think that this team is old. I think that they already are struggling, and when you see an older team struggling already, being at the record they're at, we saw this with the Lakers. It didn't look good. Now, granted, Giannis is a lot younger than LeBron was at that point, and Dame is a different player. I just think that they're going to struggle, dude. Yeah. I don't see them being better than some of these teams. I think that they're outside of Dame and Giannis. You don't have much that's really screaming off the page saying, hey, this team can win a championship. And then the other 2 teams I have is the Hawks at 9. I think that they're going to still, I just think that with the East, there's really only 8 teams, and then everything else is kind of a toss-up.
Literally.
I have the Hornets at 10.
Okay.
I think LaMelo staying healthy finally for a year. Trey
That's
Mann.
why I don't have him. I just don't trust him healthy, man.
Trey Mann has been pretty good for them so far this year. Can Miles Bridges be some form of what he used to be?
And Brandon Miller can take an extra step.
Yeah, and I think Brandon Miller, his second year, if he can be a good complementary piece on this team, there's no world where I can't see them being better than the Bulls, the Raptors, the Pistons. The Pistons might be sneaky. They've looked good in some of the... Cade looks really good, but his injury, he's just injury prone. Yeah. We already know the Nets and Wizards are going to be crap, so... Yeah. Let's... I think the Hornets, they have a shot, but I respect putting another team out there. I'm actually surprised you have Brooklyn at 10. Yeah. I don't know. It's just because they don't have size.
No, that's true. They really don't have size in it. I mean, they could be sellers too. I mean, they could potentially just flat out tank. Obviously, they have all those draft picks now. They have an insane amount of draft capital, first round picks, like crazy now. I don't know, man. They're just a scrappy team. I was watching them against the Bulls. They got some guys. They got some solid guys. I mean, Ben Simmons seems like he knows his role on this team. He still plays good defense. He still orchestrates the offense here and there. Cam Thomas is a bucket. Cam Johnson's solid. They got Dennis Schroeder now. They got some veterans and I don't know, man. They just seem like a scrappy team. They're kind of interesting to watch.
I'll have to check a game.
Dorian Finney-Smith. They got some. They have they're alright.
I hear you. Look, I think it's interesting that they're playing Dorian Finney-Smith sometimes at the center right now. No, it's a very Houston Rockets 2020 team feel to that. If it works for them, great. I just don't understand why Nick Claxton wasn't playing. So that's my only question about it. Yeah. Same thing here. 9 out of the 10 teams we both think are going to be in that some type of order. You know, it doesn't have to be the exact same, but we kind of know what teams are going to be there in the playoffs and what teams we already are expecting not to even touch it. So I think that right now, Nick, I think we already know what's going to happen with the East. I just think that we don't know what's going to happen with the West. I think that this is going to be a very interesting year. There's going to be no parity coming out of the West. I think the East is very, I hate to say it, just like when you traded Drew Holiday to the Boston Celtics, that was the day that they said, yeah, we're going to let Boston just make multiple finals appearances, because there's just nothing you can do against that team, man, unless the Knicks somehow miraculously pull off an upset on them.
I don't see it. I just don't see it.
It's just like they're so good.
I'm telling you, there's
and
one team that can beat them.
I
but
don't
it's
like
not,
it.
It's not in the Eastern Conference. Just like you said, unless if Tatum or Brown or something drastically happens to one of those two guys, like they're going to the finals even without Kristaps Porzingis. Even if they set him outside, but they're going to the finals.
I mean, they were winning the finals even without him.
I mean, you saw opening night; they completely blew out the Knicks. I mean, like the first quarter, I'm like, dude, this team's got 43 points in the first quarter, and freaking Porzingis ain't even out there. Like, I mean,
they almost broke the record for threes that night.
Like
they were trying to.
It's crazy, man. But there's one team that could beat that I think that could give them a run for their money, and I think Oklahoma. I think they gotta make one more move, but if they do, I'm telling you, if they do make a move, I think Oklahoma wins the finals. I think they win the championship this year.
Fair. I think they can win the championship. I think that we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
I will also say, Nick, that I think there's a chance that Oklahoma could get a star player if they play their cards right. We'll see.
Shit, they might get one because the Clippers could be bad anyways.
I mean, that's true too. We also will have to see how this team looks like when Hardenstein comes back. That's gonna be interesting because I think that they haven't had a center like that.
Yeah.
So I really want to see how he plays, and then we'll see Caruso in the playoffs. I think that's when you're gonna start seeing more.
No, for sure. But I completely agree with that.
Nick, always a pleasure chopping up with you, man.
Hell yeah.
If you guys have not already, please subscribe to the podcast. Please follow us. Share our posts. Let us know what you guys are thinking in the comments down below. And Nick, I just want to say, man, happy that the season's back and that we're talking hoops again. And for
best time of the year.
Yeah, for all the times that we have, I mean, it's crazy, man. We're literally going on our third season.
It's wild. We're almost close to 40 episodes. Like,
I think we're actually at 40
episodes. Are we at 40?
Now. Okay. It's crazy, man. When we started this back in 22, you know, just talking about, hey, we want to give ourselves a shot to talk about basketball and, you know, share it to the world.
Yeah.
You know, I'm glad that we're continuing to do this, man.
Absolutely,
so,
man.
We appreciate you guys for listening, as always. And if, like I said, if you have not, please subscribe. I'm sorry, my brain is like at that point of the night where I'm just like, I don't know what to say anymore.
Yeah, man,
we appreciate you guys. Thank you for listening to the end of the episode. And as always, for Nick and for myself, this is All Ball No Foul. Thank you. Have a good night. And we will be talking to you very soon.